And then one that's missed all the time is it has to be observable, which means post times to comments. I'm going to say it again. No drill sergeant, motivational speaker, or no amount of willpower will get the same level of hard work and intensity that a stopwatch and a whiteboard will. What's your time? Post it to comments.
We are here because we know the outcomes in our lives are within our control. That taking absolute ownership of how we eat, sleep, train, think, and connect with each other is how we'll optimize our health and happiness. That chasing excellence is how we grab hold of what is possible. Our mission is to live on the run, always chasing, never stopping. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chasing Excellence, Remote Edition. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. Thanks, Patrick.
Good. We're back this week in full lockdown, in quarantine. And we're gonna do a 2-minute drill. A couple episodes ago, when last time we did this, I asked for some kind of lockdown specific questions for 2-minute drill, and we got a handful of good ones. So that is what we're gonna tackle today. The first one. During the quarantine, we're all trying our best to stay sane, positive, and healthy, but there are and will be days where those things are a challenge. Do you have any tips on how to bounce back quickly when you realize you're starting to struggle?
Yeah. So first off, I like lockdown better than quarantine.
Yeah,
lockdown sounds so much more like, I don't know. It's like badass.
Yeah.
Quarantine's like medical. Lockdown's like hardcore.
Yes, we'll go with that.
I'm going to start using lockdown. Okay, so bouncing back when things don't go your way.
Yeah.
So the first thing here is to recognize that you're in a new world, you're in a new environment. You don't expect things to go perfect. It's not going to be perfect. If things are, you're trying to do what you can with what you got for where you are. So if you take away this idea of like, I'm not I'm not able to do the work I used to be able to do. I'm not being able to productive as I could before. I'm getting more distractions. I'm having a hard time separating work from everyday life and family. I can't train as hard as I used to be able to do. That's the deal. Like this is what dealing with adversity is all about. So first deal is like recognize it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. And then from there, what we need to do is fall back on that principle of respond, don't react, which is when things don't go your way, don't become emotional. Don't blow your lid off. Don't go crazy and react in an overblown way that you're going to regret later on. Instead, have the awareness that this is happening in real time. What we want to be able to do is kind of recognize triggers. And this isn't quarantine, lockdown specific. This is anytime specific when you feel like things are not going your way. What you want to be able to do is in real time, not a day, a week, or a month later, but in real time, can you recognize the trigger, which is your emotions rising up, which is frustration, which is distraction, which is anger, which is sadness, and start to realize that these things are triggers. And the trigger is not to spin you farther into that doom loop, but it's a trigger. We recognize it, go, oh, here it is. I'm getting frustrated. Here's my emotions getting the best of me. Now what I need to do is see, and this is the challenge now, trigger/challenge. How quickly in this moment, how well, knowing it's not going to be perfect, we're going to make mistakes along the way, can I get myself back to my normal, productive, happy, fulfilled person that I am in my everyday life. We got to be able to see these things as triggers, not as steps, like descending steps that's going to send you down the doom loop. So that's the biggest thing, is really like awareness in the moment that these triggers are happening. And then from there, pull yourself out, 10,000 foot view. Okay, what does this look like? Oh, I get it. I'm being emotional because it's not your fault. It's built into our human genetics. It's part of our repertoire as human beings that we fight or flight. You become emotional. You're supposed to do that. The problem is those hormonal responses don't serve us in everyday life, and they certainly don't serve us in lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the interesting things there, or the thing that maybe I would echo is, yeah, the ideal is to understand and recognize the trigger in the moment that it happens. But I've always found that's really hard to do. But I've always found, especially as of late, especially over the last few years, if I find myself, because it's easier to find yourself kind of doing that the dissension, right? Like, oh man, like the last hour I felt like crap, like I'm anxious, I'm whatever. And for me, it's been helpful to kind of trace it back to, okay, like what actually did trigger that? Like, oh, that email I got, that even in the moment I didn't realize it was triggering me. An hour later, I recognize, oh, okay, that was actually the thing that it started. And just recognizing that helps to start the process of getting out of it. Because at least you're like, oh, okay, it's not me necessarily. It's just like that thing happened and I responded to it.
So from there, it also goes into like what we talk about all the time. It's like the number one thing you have to kind of recognize is this thing that's bothering me inside my control or outside my control?
Yeah.
Like, that's like 101, right? Like, man, it's really crappy weather for the fourth day in a row and I'm in lockdown. I'm bummed out. As you said, what is causing the bum out? It's the weather. Okay. Like, I can't control that at all.
Yeah.
So if you are a victim to things that you can't control, you're giving up your ultimate power. I'm still a Tom Brady fan, even though he moved to Tampa Bay. But Tom Brady has said this a number of times. I'm not willing to give up my power to things that are outside of my control. When people ask him about like Deflategate or anything that's outside of his control, he's like, I'm not going to go there, because all I'm doing then is I'm literally giving up the thing that he calls it power. So we call it like energy or matchsticks. And if you burn up these matchsticks, if you give up your energy towards these things that you can't control, you now have less to put into things that you can control. This is the secret to success, is like give everything you can to which matters and you have control over. What you realize in most things in life that people get mostly upset about are mostly outside people's control. It's no wonder that it's this cycle of frustration, because putting so much focus and energy into things that they can't influence.
Love that. Okay, next question. When our gym closed, I had 4 friends over to my house to work out. A neighbor typed up a note and told us to stop working out together for the sake of community. At what point is it more important to exercise than not? I'd rather work out than avoid all human contact.
Yeah, you can work out without human contact. Like, dude, you don't need to work out with your buddies to work out. So your question was, at what point does working out become more important than human contact? Those are not mutually exclusive things. Those can be mutually exclusive things. You can work out without that contact. Now, I'm not against people getting together to work out in this time and staying 6 feet apart. I am against it with like 8, 9, 10, 12 people, because it's not going to happen. You're not going to stay, and that's just irresponsible. So ask yourself the real question. Is this that you need to work out with 4 or 5 people in your driveway? Or, I mean, it's just like the question's misguided in my mind. You can work out without the group. If you're working out with a group, work out with 1 or 2 other people and work out on other ends of the driveway. Like, you don't need to be that close to people.
Got it.
The other thing which I'll say, and I'm not like, again, is there's this quarantining thing. We're quarantining, and we're doing it with our neighbor. So we have our next door neighbor. They are being as responsible as we are. So they're still going to the supermarket once every 2 weeks like we are. But basically, besides that, they're at home and there's no other contact. Well, they have 2 kids that are also our kids' age. We're allowing them to play together and do everything. They're not going to each other's homes, but they're playing in driveways together and all that stuff. So we're quarantining with them, knowing that they're being responsible. From there, if a neighbor actually reached out to us and said like, hey, you're not being responsible, I'd have a conversation with them, tactful conflict resolution. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I realize now what this looks like. We're actually quarantining this, but you bring up a great point. Do you have any suggestions on how we could either make this more well-known to the rest of the neighborhood or do this safer? What do you think about that? All the rest.
Yeah. I haven't heard that term before. I like it. Quarantining.
Yeah.
Next question. Before this, my training was going very well, training consistently for 6 months, twice a day, sleep and nutrition on point, mindset and recovery going well. But since everything changed, I've struggled. I have all the equipment I need to train, but the usual volume has been breaking me down. I feel like I'm struggling to find the right balance again. So not a specific question in there, but curious of your reaction to that kind of story.
Yeah, it's interesting. So first off, this person's like a baller, a go-getter. They're a competitor. They train twice a day, 6 days a week. They're dialed in with their mindset, their nutrition, everything else. It sounds like, I didn't think that question was going to go the direction it was. They're asking the volume is now beating them up.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, it's not just volume that beats you up. It's a number of different things. It is volume, which is load, reps, duration, all sets times reps times load times sometimes duration if you're not doing weights. That's volume. Number of sessions a day, number of hours in the gym. But there's other things. There's intensity. Then from there, there's also like modalities. Like riding a bike isn't going to beat you up as much as like doing squat cleans. Like it's just not. So there's a bunch of things that go into the volume aspect of that. But then what it's going to come down to for this individual, and I'm going to answer it in a different way again, because I think most people are struggling with something else. It's got to be something else that this person's doing in terms of the other factors we talk about in terms of, so it's, what are you doing now for recovery? Maybe you're not doing the same recovery you did when you were in the gym. Before, when you were in the gym, you sat with a foam roller for 25 minutes before you worked out. And then afterwards, you jumped on a machine and then you did your normal routine. You took a shower afterwards and then you rolled out and stretched, and then you had something in your routine is off. So it sounds like this person's very dialed. Figure out what was off there. Now, if it's not that, okay, what's the sleep thing doing? What happens now is because every day is a weekend. No one knows what day it is anymore. People are doing weekend habits. So they're turning the TV on at 9:15 at night. And now you're sleeping with the TV. Before you go to sleep, you have this stimulus of TV. You're staying up later. So maybe your sleep is sacrificed. Or you don't have the connection you used to have with people at the gym or at work. So all the chemical responses to having through strong connections are down. Or your nutrition is off. Like it's one of those factors that could be doing it. It doesn't sound like it's the volume thing. This person sounds like, I'm still working out twice a day. Still have all the equipment. I'm still doing all that stuff, but I'm beat down. It's one of the other factors other than that. Where I thought this question was going, I'm going to answer this one, even though it's not the question, is what most people are asking about is, I have all the equipment. I have all the programming. I'm still committing to it time-wise. I just can't bring anything to it. I can't bring the intensity factor. That's one that usually messes people up. Here's the secret to this. Get on a social platform. Get on a social leaderboard, like CompTrain Masters, like post times to comments. Greg Glassman has said forever that intensity is the shortcut to results. Intensity is the independent variable most commonly associated with favorable adaptations. What that means is the harder you work, not work out, the more you put into writing a book, to learning classical violin, to becoming a chef, to becoming a race car driver. The harder you work, the faster you'll see results. In a vacuum, that is true. Now, the thing that incentivizes intensity, hard work, more than anything else, no drill sergeant or motivational coach in the world will get the same level of motivation, hard work, intensity as a stopwatch and a whiteboard. All you need is to know a score, how fast you do the workout in. Tell them what's your score, and then you're doing science, measurable. So you know that you did 21:15:9 of thrusters and pull-ups with 95 pounds. Measurable, okay? And then a time to it. So then we know exactly what your result from that workout was. Repeatable, so you can then do that workout again. Team workouts, or you're swimming in the ocean and one day it's rough and the next day it's not. Or one day you're using a bamboo bar and the next day you're using a barbell. Not repeatable. So measurable, repeatable data. So you got to be able to repeat it. And then one that's missed all the time is it has to be observable, which means post times to comments. I'm going to say it again. no drill sergeant, motivational speaker, or no amount of willpower will get the same level of hard work and intensity that a stopwatch and a whiteboard will. What's your time? Post it to comments. That's what CrossFit was created with. Day one, that was the business model. That was what made CrossFit special. Constantly varied function movements performed at high intensity that are measurable, observable, and repeatable. Without those things, you're not doing it. That's what's missing. So get on. This is why people work out harder in the open. By the way, like, you work hard in the open. Why? Because now you're on a legit leaderboard. You're not just posting some scores to your gym with 3 other people that you like to measure against. You're competing against thousands of people. So get on something like comptrain.co. Get on the leaderboard. Get on there with your specific group, your master's group, age group, teenagers, individuals, games, whatever it might be. And I promise you, intensity will go up. Even if, here's the crazy thing, even if you're scaling workouts and you're not doing exactly what the other people are doing, even if you're doing something that's unique only to you, I promise you, you will still work harder. It's this weird psychological phenomenon that we then get placed into the hierarchical system as human beings. We're constantly trying to figure out where we rank, like it or not. You walk into a party and immediately your senses go up of, where do I rank in this group? Because of that, you work harder. It is the secret to it. And get back to that, guys. Like, get on the social forums.
Got it. Next question. You guys have talked about how when CFNE was opening up, you offered lifetime memberships to some people. And you did that, a little bit of context, you did that to help kind of fund the growth and the early stages of CrossFit New England. Would that be a viable option right now in an effort for some gyms to stay afloat and get through this?
Yes, 100%. I hadn't thought of that, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So the idea is, just to restate what the question said and what Patrick just alluded to, is you could offer to your favorite, most loyal members a lifetime membership. So everyone's struggling right now. Everyone's looking for additional ways to create revenue, to stay afloat, to stay alive. You have to weather this storm. You have to, you can't go belly up during this. So because of that, it's kind of like all hands on deck, anything's possible at all cost. So what you can do, one of the things you could do is sell lifetime memberships. Up to you what you charge for that. If you want to charge half a year's of tuition or up to 4 years of membership dues, you could do that. I think, just as a reference point, during this time, if you've been around for a very, very long time, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 years plus, you're a very sustainable business. The risk is probably lower. You could probably get away with probably closer to 3.5, maybe even 4 years worth of dues. If you're a newer business, 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, probably under 2 or 3 years, you're probably better off trying to sell something underneath the 2 years worth of dues in totality. So if you charge $200 a month, let's do even easier numbers, right? You charge $100 a month, which we did some market analysis. We'll do a podcast where we kind of share what most gyms are doing. But most gyms are doing $100 and they are $200. Let's say you charge $100 a month. Over a year, that's $1,200. So if you're a newer gym, maybe you do 2 years worth of dues, that's $2,400, and you give someone a lifetime membership to your gym, so they never pay membership dues again. You do that for 10 members, and you have between $10,000 and $15,000 coming in, and you have loyal customers forever.
Yeah, and so we've talked about this a little bit, but just to give a little bit more context as to how you did it. When you did it, you went to specific people and you said, hey, listen, I'd like to talk to you about this opportunity, right? This wasn't everybody raise your hand or anybody raise your hand if you want a lifetime membership, right?
Not a post on social media, not a thing on the daily workout, not a mass email. This was, hey, you are special. I'm going to offer this to X number of people. You are one of those X. If you're interested, please let me know. ...
Yeah, love it. Okay, next question. What has changed operations-wise at CFNE and CompTrain? How has the EOS system been altered, if at all, and how are you adjusting? And so maybe start with a quick recap of what the EOS system is, just so everybody knows.
EOS is an operational system. So it stands for, it's
you just
pretty
said
witty. It stands for Entrepreneur's Operating System. So it's a way to run your business. And it took me a long time to figure out that there was a way to run your business. No wonder that we struggled for as long as we did. Phenomenal model. It sets up the framework for your business so that you can run it efficiently and effectively. So inside of that model, what has changed? It's created so they use what's called quarterly rocks. Basically, the most important things you need to do in the next 90 days. In terms of like the way Google and Facebook and Intel and a lot of these other companies, they call them OKRs, objectives and key results. So it's a 90-day objective. What is the specific and what are the results you're looking to get there? So every business should be running their business in 90-day increments. It's enough to create stability, but enough that there's change in between. Well, here's what we created: our 90 days. Literally, we had our quarterly meeting literally the day the world changed. It was a Thursday, offsite meeting, full day. It was about 35 minutes away from the gym. We had so we set all of our quarterly objectives the day before. It was the day that Tom Hanks actually came down with it. And then that day, school started closing. Our Amherst College, actually, I take that back. Tom Hanks was, if I remember correctly, Tom Hanks was a positive test on like the Monday. Amherst College was the first college to close on a Tuesday. And by Thursday, local schools around us started sending people home. They weren't closed, but they're sending people home. So that Thursday, literally the day we had our meeting, the world changed. And by that next Monday, that was also the big tank in the market. It was a totally different world that we were living in. So we created our 90-day objectives outside of this new world. So long story short is you're not supposed to go back and change your quarterlies because then they're not the most important. We went back and readjusted. I should say that. We added one quarterly for CompTrain and we added one quarterly for CF&E to make it COVID sustainable specific. Otherwise, it's like, how aloof would that be to say these are our 90-day most important objectives that we need to accomplish, and they have nothing to do with the new world we're living in.
Yeah.
So it actually took us over 2 weeks to realize that, because it took us 2 weeks to realize the magnitude and the change that and the longevity of what we were about to be experiencing. So it wouldn't have made sense for the next day to wake up and go, we're changing things. But by 2 weeks into this thing, it was like, guys, this is not a 2 week thing. This is got to be the most important thing we're trying to accomplish next. And that's where, like, for CompTrain, home gym came out, free programming came out. Ben did so much more social media stuff, and I got in front of a lot of people. We started doing Ask Me Anythings on CompTrain. So it was like, we got to shift this a lot. Okay, now for CF&E, it was like, what are we going to do to keep people engaged? Zoom classes, fireside chats, more videos, more. So we went way more interactive and way more. We're speaking to people a lot more.
Yeah, love it. Next question. While gyms are closed, do you think we should be still getting charged at a full rate?
100% definitely not. No way. You didn't sign up for this. You signed up to go to a gym, to use their facility, to be coached in person and be able to, whatever else it is, socialize, have the best hour of your day, all that stuff. That is not the product that's being offered now. So no, you should not. And I think it's a real disservice for gyms that are asking members to do that. I think, and this is me, this is like, I have this platform, so I'm going to use it. Like, I think that what gyms should be doing is something along the lines of offering tiered different memberships. And I actually think the responsible thing to do is offer people to continue to stay on their Zoom classes without charging them anything. I think there should be an option for a free. Now, I get it. Like, that might seem like it's not a viable solution. I promise you that is going to give more. Like, you posted something the other day, which is like, goodwill is the new currency of marketing, right? It's like
karma.
Like, you're like, so what you want to have happen, this would be what you want as a business owner, is for members to step up and say, listen, I can't use the product right now as it was promised to me. I'm still going to pay my full membership. That's them doing an amazing, amazing thing. Well, you have the opportunity as a business owner to do the same thing. There are people in your community that have lost their jobs that can no longer pay. It's the same thing. You going, hey, I realize you can no longer pay your membership. I'm going to still provide the service to you, even though you can't. It's karma works both ways, guys. It's like, so not to say we're doing it the best way or the right way. I'll share what we're doing as a reference. We gave three different options for our memberships. Well, four really. So the first one is you can pay a 25% membership. 25% of what we normally do, optional. Click this button if you'd like to contribute 25% membership, because we're still doing classes, Zoom, all the rest. Or you could pay a 50% membership, or you could pay a full membership. Up to you guys. Or option 4 is you can continue to stay on and pay and nothing, free. We're going to give you every service you possibly have. We possibly are doing. There's no difference in terms of our attention to you in how you choose which of those options. But from there, it's like now people can't. First, it's clarity, so they can like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. You don't have the people reaching out going like, hey, I'd like to support the gym, I just don't know how to.
Yeah.
Well, now it's kind of out there, but you should not. You can offer people to pay a full membership, but you should not mandate it. You're gonna burn some bridges along the way, and it's just not. You have a chance to like do good for people. Like people have lost their jobs, they can't afford it, they're scraping by. They have people that are sick that like they're. I think it's a chance for us to do good as well.
Next question. What do you and Ben think about the feasibility or likelihood of a Peloton-like CrossFit experience?
It's coming.
Yeah.
For people, I mean, Peloton, I think everyone understands what that is, but it's a spin class at home that you're in a virtual community. This Peloton, CrossFit Peloton was going to come anyway.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to fast track it. So here's what most gyms are going to try to do though. So most gyms are doing Zoom classes, and most gyms are going like, oh, wow, this is a scalable model. It's kind of low pull. I could get, 20 to 30 more members that might just want to do a virtual membership. That's not going to be the Peloton of CrossFit. And what's going to happen is they're probably not going to stay with you.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do this. They're going to seek out the best possible source, because there's going to be very little regional or emotional loyalty or exclusivity. So what's going to happen is all barriers are going to drop, and everyone's going to flock to the best provider, like Peloton. That's why Peloton doesn't have a bunch of like little micro competitors. There's not like, the local Globo gym around you isn't running Peloton classes because they can't compete with the monster in the space. It's the same reason that all the hardware stores in towns are going away, because they can't compete with Home Depot. All the little convenience stores all the little shops are going away because they can't compete with Amazon. It's going to be the same thing. You can't compete in the spin world with in the virtual spin world, because SoulCycle and whatever the other ones are can compete because it's in real life.
Yep.
CrossFit will still exist because it's in real life, but there's going to be one dominant provider. It's going to be the ones that invest the $500,000 into the infrastructure to create the best possible service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What advice do you have for coaches who currently don't have a gym to train their clients in? So I think this question is like not gym owners, but folks who kind of work maybe per hour or per client or something like that. Like what kind of options do you think they have?
Yeah, I'll throw out a few. First one is like reach out and stay in contact. If you have their cell phone, like text or call, at worst email, but you got to stay in front of them. On top of that, the biggest thing is you have to stay relevant in their lives. What you don't want to do is for them to you work so hard to get them to change their way of life, to eat healthier, to work you into their lives so they'll see you 1, 2, 3, 5 times a week. You need to stay relevant. So once a week, do a quick little Skype video, a little handheld iPhone video, and text it to them. Hey guys, here's a little insight into how to eat well while in lockdown. I've changed it to lockdown quarantine. Yeah. So first one is you got to stay relevant. You got to stay in front of them. Next is offer some services. I'll just throw a few of them. Guys, I'd be happy to do small group training with you. Grab your family and I'll train your family, get them active together. I will do a personal class for you and your family, knowing that you have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and you have just your backyard to train in. And I'll do a specific workout for you guys. The next one is do one-on-one, either one-on-one training, coaching. I can see and correct and help your form. You'd actually be surprised how well you can do that through through the virtual Zoom world or whatever you choose platform. Next one is do programming, where you're not coaching them. It's not a commitment to an hour a day, but I'm just going to give you programming, your abilities, your equipment, your goals, your schedule. Next one is do nutrition. So I'll work with you on a nutrition basis. Anything from here's a plan to daily accountability. Some people want that. I mean, I could check in for 10 minutes of like every day, send me your food diary, and then I'll respond. I'll take 20 minutes to break it down and respond, or weekly check-ins or whatever it might be. But there's a number of different options there. Big one though is stay in front of them.
Yeah. Next question. You've talked about the dangers of limiting words before. Limiting words, not limiting words like say less of them, but words that are limiting. I'd love to hear you talk about them in light of everything going on now. What limiting words should we keep an eye out for in these specific times?
Yeah. So I believe that your thoughts become your words become your actions dictate your destiny. You have to be very, very careful and intentional with the words you're using, because they will actually shape your realities. This is massively important. And it's one of the things that if you came into, CFNE or work with one of my elite athletes, or even if you came into my family, you might think it was kind of weird how we call each other out on words, but there's a reason for it. I believe it massively impacts everything. So it doesn't change because we're in lockdown. It's all the same stuff. So instead of saying things like, I have to ... I have to, like, for now more than ever, like, I have to go to the supermarket. No, like, more than ever, you get to go to the supermarket. I have to help my kids with homeschooling. Nope, you get to help your kids with homeschooling. I have to go work out in the garage. No, you get to go work out in the garage. So have tos and to get tos. Other ones is like shoulds or wills. Should implies that like you have the best intentions, but you're not going to do it. I should go to bed instead of binge watching, Netflix. I really should make sure I'm really taking care of what I bring into the house in terms of nutrition, instead of like I am going to do that. I really should call my mom instead of like I am going to call my mom. So be careful with the shoulds versus the wills. Similar to that is can'ts. Instead of can't, say I choose to. So and that's really important now because a lot of people are saying like I can't do this and I can't do that, and because of government restrictions, whatever if they feel, and so it becomes more and more and more and more limiting. Keep the power. You're choosing to do most of these things. So like I can't see my friends right now. Like, no, I'm choosing not to see my friends right now because I believe, and you don't have to say this out loud, all this, but like, it's basically like, I'm choosing to because I believe I'm being socially responsible. I'm keeping myself healthy. It's a choice. It's not that you can't see your friends. You could drive over to your friends. The police are not going to stop you. It's not against the law. You can see your friends. You're choosing to socially distance. So recognize that you're making choices. We always talk about this like, I can't pick up my kids from school today. Now it's not right or wrong, but like, it's not that I can't, it's that I'm choosing to stay at work and work on this project. It's that I'm choosing to do this meeting. It's that I'm choosing to, and when you do that, man, all of a sudden you realize the power that you do have in your fingertips. So I would be very aware of limiting words and how they frame your reality.
What do you think the games will or should look like this year?
Okay, great question. I have no idea what they will look like. No idea. I don't think Dave Castro knows what they will look like.
Yeah.
Let's assume that we are in the exact same. So let's assume that we have had restrictions lifted to like 50% by the end of this summer. Okay, so that means like small groups can get together. Basically, that's the idea, right? Like there's no restrictions on some businesses. People can go together. Basically, like the supermarket world that we live in now is kind of all businesses. I have no idea what that really means, but I think it's painting a picture for people enough. If we're in that world, so let me say it this way: if we're in the world we are right now, the game should not happen this year.
Yeah,
they just shouldn't. I don't think you can do a virtual games. Okay, there's an exception to that, which is you could, and I actually mapped this out a little bit from an economics perspective. You could whittle the field down to 40 guys and 40 girls. No more age groupers, and that's what the games used to be back in the day. 40 guys, 40 girls. From there, what you could do is send one media person and one judge to every athlete. So you could send them there with a package from Rogue that gets everyone the same amount of equipment. And then from there, you could have people do virtual games. You could do that. Actually, feasibly, economically, it would work. So I don't think that's what's going to happen. What I think should happen is the games get postponed until September, and they happen in aromas. It's very limited media, if any. It's basically the judges, 40 athletes, 40 guys, 40 girls. I think there's probably no age groupers and no coaches, no spectators, no vendors. And then what they're doing is they're limiting this field down. They could do it with really responsible groups. There's never more than a group of, kind of 8 to 10 people at a time together or whatever it is. Or maybe it's just like everyone has 6-foot buffers around them all the time. And it's just you with your judge the whole time. That's a very, very viable solution, I believe.
So a lot like the 2007 and 2008 games.
Exactly. Yeah. Except that there was in 2008, there was teams. So I think there would be a team aspect to this either.
Good call.
And 2007, it would be like the 2007 games, which was like very few judges, very few athletes.
A lot more people.
Maybe 10 spectators, and they probably all worked at HQ. And either that or they're like Castro's brother.
Yeah.
So like 2007 games.
Yeah. All right. Last question we have today. What have you found yourself missing the most since we've started locking down?
Yeah, it's it's the same thing everyone else says, right? It's the you know what, actually it's I'll go specific. It's not just it's the actual, it's going to sound weird, but it's the physical contact. It's the high fives. It's that. So there is a chemical response that happens when there's actual touch. And Simon Sinek did a great talk on this. It is endorphins and serotonin. I think it's oxytocin.
I think you're right.
When you touch, I believe oxytocin is a hormone that's released in your body, and it is a feel good. It is a connection hormone. It is the reason that, in his example, which is great, this is how important it is. Let's say the two of us are going to have a business deal. We're signing a contract for $1 million, and at the end, I go, Patrick, I'm so excited to do this deal. The terms are great. I totally trust you. I have the utmost confidence that this is going to be phenomenal. Thank you, Patrick. We're good to go. And you extend your hand, and I go, no, dude, I'm good. I'm good to go. I told you, I just trust you 100%. I don't need to shake your hand. Mm-hmm. Right? You're going like, what is up? It is the physical connection of this shaking that seals things. It is the feel good. There's so much to that. So I was actually just thinking, I was going to see someone today. We were going to go hiking. We were going to stay distanced, but we were going to, it's really easy to stay over 6 feet apart when you're hiking with somebody.
Yeah.
So we're going to go hike a local mountain that I haven't seen in probably 8 months to a year. And I was like, in my mind, I was like so excited to see him and give him a hug, like a bro hug. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get that chance to connect. So even though I'm going to see him and we're going to have conversation and eye contact, we're going to hike a mountain together. It's not going to be totally complete. Yeah. That's a massive hole. That physical connection for humans is massive. And it's not just humans, it's animals and mammals in particular. You just had a son. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Last, the whole physical connection piece, like I'm sure you're reading, and it's your second child, so you know this, but like the chest to chest contact, the holding, the breastfeeding, the actual connecting happens a lot through touch. It's weird that as I'm saying this out loud, I realize that it sounds weird that that's the thing I'm missing, because I didn't have that. I didn't actually have this in my head until this conversation right now. I'm figuring this out in real time, that this is the thing I'm missing, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, spot on. I think without articulating, I think that is the thing that most people are missing. Because we have the digital means to connect with each other, right? Like you and I are talking over Skype, but it leaves something. I
guess if I was, sorry to interrupt there. As you just said that, I guess the next thing would be like the people that I wasn't super close to. So like I still Skype with my team, my employees, my family, and my really close friends. And then from there, but like, it's all like the periphery friends, right? Those ones that like I really am missing. There's a lot of people in my 830 class that I haven't stayed connected with. Now that I'm thinking about, that's probably even more so than touch. Is the people that I've lost that I do care so much about. But for a dozen and a half different reasons, we've just kind of lost that connection. Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's a bit of a bummer to end it on, but it is what it is. Thank you, Ben. Thank you to everybody who sends us questions. Hope everybody is doing well and staying sane. We'll be back next week. You can get every episode of Chasing Excellence wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for listening.